questions concerning this? Yes.
When you talk about colonialism, I was imagining that how Japan invaded us. They teach us like this Dasa Penjempunan, where you have education in Japanese. You have to sing the song of the Japan national anthem. But right now, when you say that internally, that is from the physical point of view. But internally, when you say colonizing, you say one point you gave was mass educating children, giving 500 cable channels. So right now, I think like most of us are being colonized. You have these 500 cable channels, you have this PS3 and stuff like this. So when we are being colonized, we waste too much of time. We are lagging behind. We are not improving ourselves. We are not developing. We are not moving forward. So, in your opinion, let's say if I have a child today, what is the best way to educate my child so that they don't easily be colonized by this stuff around?
Very good question. Don't use television as a babysitting tool. When you have a child, even when the child have not started to understand words, read, begin reading to the child. Take turns reading with your spouse, and encourage readings more than half time when he or she watches television, and cultivate the culture of reading itself, so that by the time the child gets to a certain age, he or she can be interested in reading more and more serious stuff. And reading is also introducing oneself not just to read anything, but also to read the classics and also to read books, great books. Now our education system is lacking the idea of reading great books, that we become so shallow in the way whatever that we pursue, we want things to be pursued fast, including also getting your college degree. In Malaysia, it was one time that they want to reduce it to 3 years, and some people wanted to graduate in 2.5 years. A good education system is one that has a very strong foundation in the humanities and also the core curriculum foundation. Without this, whatever that you will become, you will not have a philosophical and social and cultural basis. Less television means that subjecting yourself less to the sound bites and also it is a very powerful colonizing tool. To tell you honestly, I've not watched television for the last 25 years. Really sit down and watch. I guess also some other things. Reading is one, because it's just that my mind cannot stand sitting in front of TV. I keep on thinking and deconstructing and telling myself, what is this happening? Why is this news like this? Who controls this news? Who produces this? So it becomes so distracting. So in the end, right. So reading. We must evolve into a reading society. But how can we evolve into a reading society when television is so pervasive? In Malaysia, for example, we talk about Malaysia now because, again, we love our country, we love the people there, you have brothers and sisters and everything, aunts and uncles, nephews and nieces, so rightly so, we want the best for our country. We do not want our country to go down the drain and to go to the dogs. Already, the country is in trouble. I tell you, the seeds of destruction has been planted, and destruction is very, very fast. Massive corruption. People are buying things. Consumption is so conspicuous, meaning that people display everything in public, and use the display to put status to themselves. We stop people from speaking out against things. Right? Universities are being controlled. We have to stop the process, because the purpose of a university is to universalize ideas and to respect others so that we can continue to generate and regenerate positively. So that's the thing. And we are also, we are so addicted to credentialism and testing and testing and testing. As if we test anything that moves. And not just that test, but paper and pencil tests. What's the point of training a child, standard 1, standard 2, to take tests and to drop his or her childhood of exploring things? Our school system is not, if it's going to be transformed, it has to be one in terms of philosophy, teaching, learning, and then the products of learning, the outcome of learning. If you want to produce good thinkers, transform the entire system into project-based system. It's not just in memorizing things. How could your fate be put on this test of whatever? This is the only result, SPM, UPSR. There has to be more life to that, to the learning process. Why don't we transform that into 60% of work, 60% of projects, based learning, 30% of tests, and 10% of other things, for example. And use authentic assessment to assess the students. How many people who are children who are very creative that has become marginalized people in society? The Madrumpe, the Along, the gangsters, the different races, they are not born to become gangsters. Or they are born, everyone is born a gift, fitrah. But it is the process, the system that has turned them into creative people or criminals. And once we criminalize them, jail becomes big business. In America, to educate a child in high school, you spend between $18,000 to $20,000 per year. To keep an inmate in jail, you will have to spend about $100,000 a year. You see how growing America's prison industrial complex is growing? Why? Because through the process of learning, through the process of education, through the process of schooling, these people's needs are not met. They're very creative, they get bored, but they become enemies to the school system, and when they go to prison, when they get out of prison, they cannot fit in society, they want to go back to prison. Think in Malaysia, who are the ones who are in prison? Who are the drug addicts? They don't want to become drug addicts. But why did they become? I grew up in a kampung. Had I tried drugs and used drugs, I wouldn't be here. I look around everywhere around me, my village, people were just high. But I don't know what it is then. This is an all Malay kampung. All these things are a design, the matrix, design the system. Because we have a system that wants to only cater for the rich, for the powerful. Education system becomes elitist school. We only want to spend money to build schools, only a few schools, so that only those who can afford go. But what about others who are in the hundreds and thousands? Why can't we create an education system where everyone wins? Everybody wins. This is not a win-lose world anymore. We cannot afford to have, the few people controlling the lives of the many, because ultimately the many will come and rise against the few. And through education, a lot of things can happen. Education is a very powerful process. It's the only means to progress, social, personal, and economic progress. It is through education that societies regenerate, get renewed. It is through education also societies become controlled. With anything, curriculum is a very powerful tool. Curriculum means race course. It comes from the word curare, Latin word. You start with the beginning, a race, right? And then you go. It is curriculum that goes into the classroom, it goes into your mind, what the teacher uses to teach, and what the teacher uses to create you and I as human beings. Right? But if the curriculum is so shallow, so racist, so uninspiring, and so textbook-like, then you will create human beings who are uninspiring, racist, and textbook-like. I don't know whether that makes sense. If you take a child and put the child in communist Russia, in Iran, and put a child in California, then you will have three different, right? Three different people being created. The process of creation of a human being begins and also is about education.